Google's new Android 16 Canary plan. Impact on Samsung's One UI. Warning: Android's latest move may turn your Samsung phone's software into a wildcard. Google just threw a curveball into the Android development process, and Samsung users, beware. The traditional, predictable rhythm of Android updates, from developer preview to public beta and finally stable release, has been disrupted. Enter Android Canary, a new, unpredictable update track that's leaving Android insiders on edge. The Canary Conundrum. What's the big deal? The introduction of Android Canary isn't the issue. It's the replacement of the developer preview stage that's causing unease. Gone are the days of watching a clear, structured build-up to the next Android version. Android 17. Instead, Google will now release features whenever it pleases, with no clear roadmap or version tagging. This unpredictability is what's making waves. But here's where it gets controversial. For Pixel users, surprises might be welcome. But for companies like Samsung, which build custom UI skins, One UI, on top of Android, this move introduces significant ambiguity. One UI updates are deeply intertwined with Android's under-the-hood changes, including APIs, security protocols, and system behavior. When Google stops clearly signaling these changes, Samsung's engineering and QA teams face a moving target, akin to building on shifting ground. The ripple effect on Samsung's One UI. Samsung's currently running its One UI 8 beta program based on Android 16 with no apparent hiccups. However, the real challenge may arise with Android 17 when the full impact of the Canary approach kicks in. Traditionally, Samsung synchronizes One UI updates with Android's stable releases to maintain a polished, relatively bug-free Galaxy experience. With Canary in the mix, these versioned rollouts might become blurred. Features could drop unexpectedly, disappear, or change dramatically before Samsung integrates them, posing significant management challenges across hundreds of devices and dozens of countries. Can Samsung adapt to the new landscape? It's possible, but it would require a cultural shift. Samsung might follow Google's lead by introducing its own early feature testing channel for One UI users or developers. This could enable faster iteration, real-time response to Google's changes. However, adopting such an approach wouldn't come naturally to Samsung, which prefers controlled, staged rollouts. And this is the part most people miss. From a user perspective, things could get messy. Features might appear inconsistently across models, or land half-baked, only to be polished months later, while Google's Pixel feature drops already exhibit this behavior to some extent. Expanding it across the Android ecosystem could amplify the chaos. The bottom line? Android Canary isn't inherently bad. It could accelerate development and facilitate more experimental features. However, it muddies Android's versioning system, and Samsung, reliant on this structure for One UI, will likely feel the pain first. If Android 17 becomes a patchwork of early drops, hidden APIs, and quiet rollbacks, don't be surprised if Samsung slows down One UI releases or rethinks its build process entirely. Now it's your turn. Do you think Samsung can successfully adapt to the Android Canary approach? Or will it lead to more chaos in the Android ecosystem? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Disclaimer and follow-up. This article reflects our honest opinion. For more details on our editorial guidelines and affiliate links, visit https://www.gizchina.com/editorial guidelines and https://affiliate and brand relationship disclosure. And tomorrow's canola furching, and more videos on tech athlenautical details. Stay updated on tech news by following gizchina.com on Google Meets, https://google.com/caaqt, Emma and Vakiwai. https://publications. Thank you so much, Ryan, if you'd like to light that fire. Android Canary 2507. New features for Pixel devices. Get ready for the latest tech wave. Google is rolling out Android Canary 2507 for Pixel devices, following its initial release 2 weeks ago. This update is part of Google's innovative Android Canary program, tailored for developers eager to dive into the newest Android APIs. But here's where it gets controversial. Google explicitly warns that these Canary builds may harbor bugs and issues that could disrupt your device's normal functioning, making them unsuitable for daily use. And this is the part most people miss. Not all features tested in Canary will necessarily make it to the stable Android release. This new program replaces the previous developer previews, which preceded the unchanged Android beta program. It's available for a wide range of Pixel devices, including the Pixel 9a, Pixel 9, Pixel 9 Pro, Pixel 9 Pro XL, Pixel 9 Pro Fold, Pixel 8a, Pixel 8, Pixel 8 Pro, Pixel 7a, Pixel 7 Pro, Pixel 7, Pixel 6a, Pixel 6 Pro, Pixel 6, Pixel Fold, and Pixel Tablet. You can install it using the Android Flash tool, with future updates coming via OTA. The latest release, ZP11.250627.09, is the second in the Android Canary series and includes the July 2025 security patch level. It follows the first update, ZP11.250606.010A1 from July 10th. While the on-device OTA isn't available just yet, we successfully installed it through flash.android.com. Key updates include the always-on display settings now feature an accompanying graphic. Toggle legibility has been enhanced, similar to Android 16 QPR1 Beta 3. But wait, there's more. Canary 2507 introduces an expanded or forced dark theme for apps that haven't implemented their own. Looking at you, Fitbit. However, this implementation intriguingly reverses apps that already have native dark themes. The second image below showcases the native dark theme, while the third illustrates the expanded version. Lock screen shortcuts are now neatly enclosed in rounded squigs, though this change appears sporadically. Old versus new, spot the differences. Don't forget to add 9 to 5 Google to your Google newsfeed for more updates. FTC, we use income earning auto affiliate links. Learn more. What do you think about these changes? Do you believe the forced dark theme is a step forward or a misstep? Share your thoughts in the comments. Android 16 is a mess now. Canary chaos and delayed features. Are you an Android enthusiast who's feeling utterly bewildered by the current state of affairs? You're not alone. The Android ecosystem, once a beacon of clarity for tech aficionados, has descended into a labyrinth of confusion, leaving even the most seasoned followers scratching their heads. But here's where it gets even more perplexing. Google's recent introduction of Android Canary has thrown a wrench into the works, making it nearly impossible to decipher the future of Android releases. If you're passionate about staying ahead of the curve with the latest Android features and updates, you've likely found yourself grappling with an increasingly complex landscape. And just when you thought it couldn't get more convoluted, Google unveiled Android Canary, a new release track that defies traditional categorization. So what's the deal with Android 16, Android 16 QPR1 Beta, and Android Canary? Let's unravel this tangled web. The Android 16 conundrum. Google's strategy for Android 16 has been nothing short of bewildering. Unlike previous versions, Android 16's development began unusually early, with the first developer preview arriving just a month after Android 15's launch. While this accelerated timeline ensured Android 16's availability for the Pixel 10, it also created a fragmented experience. The stable Android 16 release, which arrived in June, saw more like a minor update, lacking the flagship features that typically define a new Android version. And this is the part most people miss. The most anticipated features, such as Material-Free Expressive, live updates, and 90:10 split-screen multitasking, are conspicuously absent from the initial release. These innovations won't be available until Android 16 QPR1, which is currently in beta and expected to launch in September. So while Android 16 has technically been released, the transformative changes are still months away. Enter Android Canary, a new layer of complexity. Google's introduction of Android Canary has further muddied the waters. Traditionally, Android releases followed a clear path: developer previews, betas, and then stable builds. Android Canary, however, breaks this mold. It's not tied to any specific Android version, making it difficult to predict when its features will appear in public releases. But here's where it gets controversial. Android Canary operates in its own silo, independent of Android 16 or Android 17. This means that features showcased in Android Canary might not surface until Android 16 QPR2 or even Android 17. The lack of a clear release timeline has left developers and enthusiasts alike in a state of uncertainty. Is this a step forward or a recipe for chaos? We can't help but wonder. The impact on Android enthusiasts. For the average user, these changes might seem insignificant. After all, most people update their devices when a stable release is available, and rarely engage with developer previews or betas. However, for those who thrive on staying informed about the latest Android developments, this new system is a nightmare. The once predictable release cycle has been replaced by a labyrinthine process that feels increasingly disconnected from user needs. A thought-provoking question for you. As we navigate its new era of Android releases, we can't help but ask, is Google's focus on earlier development and the introduction of Android Canary a bold innovation, or a misguided attempt to streamline a process that didn't need fixing? Will this approach ultimately benefit the Android ecosystem, or will it alienate the very enthusiasts who have championed the platform for years? Share your thoughts in the comments. We're eager to hear your take on this evolving landscape.